Commissioners, staff and members of the public, I declare the Ordinary Council meeting of Wednesday 25th of March 2026 open at 5:30 p.m. I wish to acknowledge the Garryata people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on. I recognise their strength and resilience and pay my respects to elders past and present. I also acknowledge the presence online tonight of the recently appointed monitor, Mr. Andrew Hammond. Welcome. And I advise that the meeting is being live streamed and audio recorded to facilitate community participation and for minute-taking purposes, which may be released upon request to third parties. In accordance with Clause 6.16 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law 2014, members of the public are not permitted to use any visual or audio electronic device or instrument to record the proceedings of any meeting unless that person has been given permission by the presiding member to do so. Members of the public are also reminded that in accordance with Clause 6.174 of the Standing Orders, mobile telephones must be switched off and not used during this meeting. Item 3.1, attendance, is as listed. Item 3.2, there are no attendances by telephone or instantaneous communications other than Mr. Hammond. CEO, do we have any apologies?
None received, Chair.
There are no approved leaves of absence. Item 3.5, disclosures of interest. Thank you, Commissioner Jurovic.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I declare an interest in 12.1.2, Policy and Codes of Conduct in Code 1.108, Review of Legal Representation. The nature of my interest is I am listed in a current civil writ, CIV 2235 of 225.
Noted. Thank you, Commissioner Jurovic. Could I just suggest a spelling amendment in that? So writ is W-R-I-T. Okay. Approved leaves of absence. CEO, do we have any applications for leave of absence?
No.
Item 5, the response to questions taken on notice from elected members at the council meeting on the 25th of February. There are none. Item 5.2, responses to questions taken on notice at the 25th February 2026 council meeting have been included in the updated agenda, which can be seen online. Copies have been sent to public members and are available for viewing in the lobby tonight. I have a procedural motion that Council amend the 25 March 2026 Ordinary Council Meeting Order of Business as set out in Council Policy 1/017 to deal with Item 8, announcements by the presiding member without discussion before public time. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Sorry, Mr. Hammond, your microphone is still switched on.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Are there any opposition to the motion? Okay, thank you. So this evening is the last Ordinary Council meeting that the Commissioners and I will be present for. I'm going to make some general statements now, and then I just want to mention that all three Commissioners and I, both Commissioners and I, will make concluding statements at the end of the meeting. We have some general remarks to make. So I'm just going to talk generally to some items that are happening in the community, and I'll reserve more detailed comments for other aspects for my concluding statements. First thing I'd like to discuss is the election. That's obviously upon us this weekend. Eligible voters have until Saturday to vote in the Port Hedland local government election. The packs have been sent to enrolled voters via mail. To ensure your vote counts, packs must be returned to the returning officer by 6 p.m. on Saturday. So probably a bit late now to mail them back. So if you haven't mailed yours back, or if your pack has been damaged, lost, or you didn't receive it, you can hand deliver your packages and or get a replacement pack at the Civic Centre or South Hedland Library during business hours this week. Electoral officers will also be at the Civic and South Hedland Libraries on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for people to hand deliver their ballots. As of 24th of March, the WA Electoral Commission has scanned 2,021 ballots, or 23% of the 8,902 eligible voters in the town of Port Hedland, and that is a low turnout. So again, we would restate our consistent message that we really do, we'd love to see that number be much higher. The future of Port Hedland depends on people turning out to vote. So please, if you haven't already do so, if you know people, nag them. It's really important that we see a strong turnout. You can see who's nominated for Mayor and Council positions by visiting the Civic Centre or the town libraries, or going to the candidate profile page on the town's website. Today, we attended a very solemn ceremony to unveil 3 mosaic seats placed at Cemetery Beach Playground in remembrance of Jamila, Arnard and Kelvin, 3 small children who lost their lives in a tragic house fire in Port Hedland in 2022. The seats depict a kangaroo, which represents the children's grandmother, Dorothy Papertalk, and we had the great privilege of meeting Dorothy today, and what a remarkable, generous, kind and resilient woman she is. And she is chasing the 3 emus on the next seat, which represent her grandchildren. And they're all racing to the water towards Dorothea the turtle, and Dorothea is Dorothy's 4th grandchild, and we also had the privilege of meeting Dorothea today. And at the beach, they will all turn into turtles and swim away, and they will eventually come back to the beach at Cemetery Park in the future. It's very beautiful imagery, and it is a very beautiful community monument, so I would encourage you to go there. It was really quite moving, I think. It was a very touching ceremony today, and we were very humbled to be asked to attend. I want to acknowledge the town staff who coordinated the project. It was a great privilege, and I know the town staff who were involved in that project put a lot of heart into that, and I want to acknowledge that. And we also want to thank the local teacher, Emily Jones, who designed the seats, which, again, another lovely touch. We acknowledge the contribution of the Department of Communities, the Ashburton Aboriginal Corporation and the Port Hedland Primary School in the project as well. Whilst today's ceremony reflects what was a profoundly sad and tragic moment, we hope these seats and what they represent can bring some comfort to the family of the beautiful 3 children and all of those who knew and loved them. And it was lovely to hear Dorothy talk today about her plans to tend the garden there, and we're very privileged to have her with us tonight. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you so much for letting us be part of your family's incredibly personal moment, and I know I speak on behalf of the town when we express our sympathies, and thank you for letting us work with you and on a project that you drove so fiercely. You could feel the love you had for those kids, and thank you very much. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. Youth Week. The youth team in the Community Services Directorate is busy getting things ready for Youth Week 2026, which will be held from the 10th to the 16th of April. This year's theme is Strength in Our Stories, which celebrates the experiences, creativity and perspectives of young people and the positive role they play in Hedland. The Youth Advisory Council has had input into this year's diverse range of activities for the young people aged between 12 and 25 years. The interactions we've had with the young people in Hedland have just been fantastic. Loved meeting the Youth Advisory Council. And there's a new Youth Advisory Council I saw on Facebook. They're all being inducted and onboarded, and that's really exciting. I think with the kids that we have in our community, Port Hedland's future is very bright, and I really hope that they continue to voice their issues to Council, and that Council listens, because, you know, how we're treated in future depends on how we treat our kids today, because they will be our leaders. And so I really look forward to seeing the work that they go on and do. So please check the website out for all that activities being held in Hedland over Youth Week. I will leave it there. There are further things that all 3 of us commissioners' comments would like to talk to, but we'll reserve those comments to either agenda items later on this evening or our closing statements. Otherwise, the Commissioners' meetings for the month of February are as shown on the screen. So item 6, public time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of the Council. Clause 6.73 of the Town of Port Hedland's Standing Orders Local Law requires members of the public wishing to ask a question to complete a question form and place the completed form in the tray provided. If myself as a presiding member determines that questions or statements are out of order due to the use of offensive or objectionable expressions or are defamatory, they will not be considered, recorded nor responded to. Public questions are allocated a minimum of 15 minutes under the Act. Public questions and statements received in writing will be provided the opportunity to present first, followed by other members of the public. So I declare public question time open at 5:40 p.m. CEO, have we received any questions prior to the meeting?
Commissioner, yes, we have. We've received questions in writing from Renee Coles and Frank Kane.
Okay, would either Ms Coles or Mr Kane like to come forward and present their questions? Mr Kane, thank you.
Good afternoon all. My name is Frank Kane and I live at 6 Shorman Street, Wedgfield. Okay, question 1 to the Chair of Jessica Shaw. Did you, the Commissioners, read the 130 pages of evidence that was used in court back in 2015 that was given to you from me on the 25th of the 2nd, 2026? For your eyes only, and what was your answer to this? And on top of this, who were the Commissioners that handed the paperwork I gave you to the CEO on the same day I give it to you? That was after the meeting. That was after the meeting. The CEO handed the paperwork to the Manager of Environmental Services, Michael Kluivert, who was working with the Shire members back in the day and was a part of this problem with the town of Port Hedland, and he is trying to fix the problem and is leading the way, not the CEO who is meant to be in charge. That's question 1.
Okay, so I have had an opportunity to skip through your papers. I haven't had an opportunity to go through them in detail. The papers are sitting on my desk. I personally didn't hand my papers over to anyone else. I can't speak for the other Commissioners. As to the rest of your question, I'll refer that to the CEO.
Thank you. In relation to any items that you're putting in as a record, they become a record of the organisation, and some of those particular matters that you raised in the petition, in the information you provide to Commissioners, was of administrative function, and we needed to require an officer who was involved in that time to actually meet with you. I think in the discussions we subsequently had, when you were actually asking the question about who is leading those decisions, I referred to you and discussed the issues in relation to a waste rate that had been written off by Council, and also explained to you that the prosecution that was undertaken by Council, that those figures or those amounts couldn't be written off by the Council, and you would need to make a further expression back to the courts, the Magistrates' Court.
Okay, that's part of it, thank you. Question 2. Okay to go on?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. To the Chair again, Jessica Shaw. Now, do you lovely Commissioners agree that you're here to clean up the mess that the Shire Council has stuffed up for years? So it's got to be cleaned up by you. So when I gave you the 130 pages last month about some of the fraud in Port Hedland Shire have created for themselves and us locals, goes very deep into fraud of paperwork and goes all the way back to Perth and back here again. So will you do anything at all about this? Because this is just the start of what's really going on up here. The Shire have cost me everything. That's question 2.
Okay, thank you. Look, the challenge that we have is that we've been appointed for 7 months and our term ends this weekend effectively. So a very comprehensive dossier of documents and that involve very complex quite historically or very lengthy matters, it's very difficult for us in the very short time that we have left after receiving your documents and then between now and Saturday when effectively our term ends, it's very difficult for us to clean up the mess, as you put it. That is a challenge. There are a lot of issues that have arisen in our time here that we would have loved to have had the opportunity to attend to. We've done our level best in trying to air those and to try and understand the complexities around that. Unfortunately, our time is limited and we have not had the opportunity, as I say before, our time ends on Saturday. Having said that, your matters are administrative in nature, largely, and so the ability of councillors to sort of get right into the detailed orchestrations of the administration and address these, it's very limited legally what councillors are in a position to do, and it may be that legal remedies are a pathway that you might choose to explore. Or again, you are very welcome to take it up with the new council, but there's those really detailed issues.
Sorry, but when you start frauding Crown land titles and stuff like that, and every bit of evidence is used in court and it's all fraud, and then you get $86,000 in fines, I find that a bit rude.
I appreciate your frustration. As I say, the time we've had here has been extraordinarily limited. You delivered a dossier of over 130 pages to us a few weeks ago, and our term ends on Saturday, and it's been extraordinarily difficult for us to do something about that. And as I say, these are administrative matters as well, that it is not ordinarily the role of councillors to attend to, but I do understand your frustrations.
Yes, but it is a commissioner's job to look into that.
As I say,
have you looked at it at all?
As I say, Mr. Kane, I appreciate your frustrations. Our term is at an end. This will be the last council meeting that we will preside over before the election of a new council. Do you have a final question, sir?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, question 3. To the CEO, Kenneth Donohoe. On your response to the questions on October 2025 council meeting when I first come here, started off with alleged overcharge $9,229 for landfill. This is what you people were charging me in court. So let's get this right. After 25 plus appearances in court, the judge threw this out because you did not show up in court. The judge dismissed this, so none of this has anything to do with what I asked for from you. And then we have 2 outstanding fines. Okay,
Mr. Kane, we do try and keep questions fairly brief. Question time theoretically ends at 5:02, and I do try and give everybody an opportunity in question time. Okay. Yep. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your assistance.
Okay. Then we have understanding fines. Put on my fines enforcement registry under the Building Act 2011, Planning and Development Act 2005. Then the Town of Port Hedland Planning Scheme number 5, not relevant. Local walls. Well, if you only read the paperwork I gave you, you have got all the paperwork that was used in court against me, and you still haven't, after 5 months, you still not have given me any of the paperwork to make a decision.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Kane. I'll refer the comment to the CEO.
Thank you, Chair. I believe my statement when you first asked the question was that we're taken on notice, as it was fairly complex, some of the information that you'd asked. When I did meet with you, I did advise you that our records indicated the council had written off the waste costs. The costs associated with the court appearance and the prosecution and the issues in relation to being located and putting dwellings on council reserves, that was a matter that went through the magistrate's court, and the magistrate made a ruling on that. And when you met with myself, we actually said you would need to actually take that through a court process if you would appeal that matter further. In relation to other information, My understanding is you've picked up information this afternoon in relation to the final components of a further Freedom of Information application. I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and remember to fill out a question form.
Renee Coles, Greenplace, South Headland. I've got 3 questions in which I sent through earlier, just so that it gave you plenty of time.
We did receive those. Thank you, Ms Coles.
That's okay. Question number 1 from agenda item 12.2.1, the Youth Development Plan Review. How will Council ensure that the next Youth Action Plan is evidence-based, cost-transparent and accountable for real outcomes, not just participation numbers?
So we'll be considering the completion of the Youth Action Plan, as you point out tonight. I'll ask the CEO to respond on the process from here.
Thank you, Chair. If I could refer that to the Director of Community, please.
Thank you, Renee. Through you, the Chair. Look, I have done a written response to you, so if you don't mind, I'll read it to you. Just to clarify, the review of the plan and the actions, you're rightfully saying that it was number-based. Yes, the actions were, but working with my team, there is going to be a massive change in how we actually measure outcomes, and it will be based on our youth's wellbeing and their commitment, or our commitment to them in regards to their participation in community. So to answer your questions, we'll be using a single evidence-based. So this will happen through youth engagement aligned with our major strategic plan. So through that process, we'll be consulting community. But in regards to the youth, it will be around our young people. It'll be around organisations that work with our young people. It'll be the schools and then the wider community as well. And that will actually form the framework for the next delivery of our plan. The second part will be ensuring transparent and costs. In the plan, there will be a clear cost action schedule, and that will also outline funding that we may receive from other organisations to deliver certain services and actions. The third one was focusing on outcomes. So it won't be just about participation. It will actually be about clear outcomes, and we will be using a dashboard tracking system, which we will then report back to ELT, to our council, and then to the wider community. And just to clarify, my team's actually been recently, in the last couple of weeks, through outcomes evaluation training. So they understand what it is when we're developing these plans and what we're actually looking for, so that we can actually give some really good evidence-based outcomes and evaluations back to our community. And also the final one, we will be taking on more of a collaborative approach, and that is forming a working group or a committee. Our Youth Action YAC team will be heavily involved in that. So we can monitor what we're actually doing for our young people and for them to give us feedback. But it'll go wider than that. We've got a number of organisations in this town that we work closely with and with our young people, so it will be more of a collaborative approach. So I really appreciate the question, and I'm hoping that the next plan will be more informative and more youth outcome.
Thank you. Your second question, Ms Coles.
Next one comes from agenda item 12.1.5, the proposed change increase for the ARRC independent member fee from $450 to $1,215 per meeting. They're nearly 3 times higher. Is Council striking the right balance between paying for strong governments and demonstrating restraint, fairness and transparency to the community that funds it?
Look, thank you for the question. The first, just on the premise of your question, the papers are prepared by the officers and the officers make recommendations. So the council hasn't made a decision yet, but we will make a decision when the item comes up. I will turn to the CEO briefly, shortly, but what I will say is the organisational health check and the forward improvement plan that we considered last week and we will consider tonight raise some significant risks. And the way that risk is managed in this organisation needs a significant overhaul, in my view. Yeah. And the role of the ARIC committee is more important in the next 18 to 24 months, I think, than it ever has been in the history of the town of Port Hedland's governance, right? And if you want good quality risk and audit and improvement committee members, you have to remunerate them accordingly. And it is an incredible amount of work that goes in already at the moment from ARIC members, and particularly the independent members who chair and deputy chair that particular committee. But moving forward, their workload, you wait and see. Like, it is extraordinary. And so I understand your comments and where your concerns are coming from. But I think right now, probably the most important governance mechanism through council is ARIC. So I would just offer those comments. I'll turn now to the CEO.
Thank you, Chair. I think probably just to add a little bit further in relation to the process, the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal, which is an independent tribunal, made that decision on the 1st of January to make to the maximum figure. Town of Port Hedland's always looked at providing that maximum figure, and I guess I could only support what the Chair said. I think the work going forward and the amount of issues that need to be considered by ARIC is the basis of the officer's recommendation to go with the maximum. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Ms Coles, your third question?
Third question comes from agenda item 12.1.3, ministerial application rating. The rating rules shaped by ministerial decisions and historic state agreements, creating an uneven playing field where ordinary ratepayers carry more of the burden than major industrial users.
Okay, that's quite a complex matter, and I will say I've read the paper several times and I'm still not crystal clear on it. But one thing I would observe is that that issue at the moment is a live one. There has been a Supreme Court decision that's made and there's a whole heap of uncertainty. There are positions that have been well established for 40 years, and we need to be careful when councils are making decisions not to be reacting, but actually to have well thought out and well-considered approaches towards revenue raising. So this is a complex issue, and as I say, some of the more general questions surrounding this issue are perhaps not relevant to that particular item, but I'll turn to the CEO for further comment.
Thank you, Chair. Director Corporate Services, can you add further to that?
Thank you, through the Chair, and again, thanks for sending it through in advance. I don't believe so. The town's rating follows the prescribed local government regs and the independent valuations that we get through from Landgate. If anything, the town's fortunate in that the burden upon the residential ratepayers is only 15%, whereas the mining and associated is actually as high as 76%. And if anything, residential rating over the last 6 years, and as well as businesses, hasn't actually gone up. And in fact, when the windfall from the port came through back in 1819, it actually reduced back then. So I don't believe that's being anything unfair towards residential at all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms Coles. Are there any further questions? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and don't forget to fill out a question form.
Camilo Blanco, Holway, Wedgefield. Commissioners, can you explain the reason behind your comments at the special council meeting on the 19th of March 26th that suggested we should have a forensic audit into the Town of Port Hedland budget expenditure?
I'd be very happy to, and thank you for the question, Mr Blanco. The reason that I made those, or asked those questions of the CEO is because the organisational health check itself was not an investigation. It was a general inquiry into the overall governance and systems and frameworks of the council, and it was quite intentionally not a detailed investigation. It did reveal a series of very serious systemic issues that I think personally warrant further investigation. And I think, as I commented on the night, we have been asked questions in our term about whether or not a forensic audit has been conducted in the past, and we haven't been able to find any record of that. But I think in order to give the council some comfort going forward, there probably is quite a bit of work ahead and essential work to ensure that the right procedures and processes and that things are as they should be. I would very strongly recommend that a future council consider that. Obviously not my role after the weekend, but I do think it would be potentially a course of action that a future council could consider. Your second question?
Considering the seriousness of your comments, why haven't the commissioners ordered a forensic audit?
Because the organisational health check was presented to us last week, and we have a forward improvement plan in front of us for consideration this week. It's taken an incredible amount of work on behalf of the temporary CEO to have that organisational health check executed. So we can't, as councillors and as someone who's been around the traps for many years, Mr Blanco, you're very aware that councillors can't stick their fingers right into the operations of the administration. That's legally not possible. We have to ask questions of the CEO to undertake certain inquiries and report back to us. That happened last week. We got the results of that, and we are now working with the temporary CEO this evening, the new CEO when he starts as well. We'll be working with the monitor who's joining us this evening to do forward steps, and frankly, I think it would be a good idea if a forensic audit were undertaken. One thing I would also observe is that we're in caretaker mode right now, so it's a serious decision, it's a big undertaking, and in light of the seriousness of the issues, it is more appropriate that the new council is fully briefed on these matters and it decides the way forward as well. And your third question?
Yes. When you councillors first started, you commented quite a few times and throughout your term, the last 6 months, that you're here to steady the ship, okay? Now, if you were aware of the questions I was asking while I was a councillor, you would be aware that that report, which I don't know whether it was supposed to be, published because it's got confidential on it. Was it? Yeah. That report highlights all of the stuff I was talking about when I was a councillor, okay? So I don't think any of this is new to commissioners, to the administration or to the public, all right? We were requesting a forensic audit. Now again, considering you have the information in front of you, it might be, a very high-level document, but to give some sort of direction to a new council that could be green as, why wouldn't the commissioners now implement a forensic audit that should be done, that we've been asking for, over 12 months ago? Why wouldn't you do it now?
Okay, thank you for the question. As I say, we weren't obviously part of the previous council. If the previous council wasn't able to form a vote or to pass a resolution requesting the CEO of the time to undertake a forensic audit, that's nothing. That's something that we have absolutely no control over whatsoever. The material point is that during our time here, we have turned our minds to not only the orderly functioning of council, but also to the governance and appropriate functioning of the administration. And we have commissioned the report from the CEO, received it, reviewed it. this evening we will consider a forward implementation plan. So this evening we will be considering what could happen next, and then it will be for the newly elected council, working with the monitor and working with the new CEO, to continue that program of work. Now, you never know, Mr Blanco, you may find yourself on that council, and when you receive the papers that we've been privy to, then you'll form your own views on what the most appropriate way forward is, as will other people who are in attendance tonight. But do not be blind to the seriousness of the matters. It is important work, and it does represent a great opportunity, again, with the new council, to chart a new way forward for the town of Port Hedland. So thank you for your question. Are there any further questions? Thank you. Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Gillian Fisher. I'm actually a candidate for the upcoming council elections.
Well, good luck.
Councillor. Thank you. I appreciate your support. So I just have 3 questions. I think Mr Blanco sort of covered part of mine. My first question, will the commissioners be recommending to the local government minister, Minister Beazley, that she enact a forensic audit of the town of Port Hedland in light of the recent release of the health report? Like, is that something that she can sort of pursue as through the monitor's position, or how is this going to happen?
Okay, so the local government minister has no call on whether that happens or not. So the inspector has appointed the monitor to work with the temporary CEO and the new CEO around council improvement, but the decision to take a forensic audit will be one that the council takes itself through the guidance of the monitor appointed the new CEO, the temporary CEO, while he's around for another 4 weeks, I believe. So it will be a decision of the new council, and they should consider it very carefully, I should think.
Yep, thank you.
Your second question?
My second question is, at quite a number of previous annual meetings of electors, which I've attended, we have discussed this request for a forensic audit. We have brought this up continually, saying that there obviously is issues where this council is known as dysfunctional, and the minister continues to say that in the media, but when you actually look into it, the residents ourselves have been trying to push for a forensic audit, and now the Commissioner Shaw has actually agreed that that's a really good idea going forward to set up the council for the new councillors. Are you aware that the members, like residents at the annual meeting of electors, have actually moved these motions? Are the commissioners aware of that?
Actually, no. I wasn't aware of that. And at this year's annual meeting, there was no motion made on those grounds. Having said that, I think just generally on a forensic audit, when we consider the forward improvement plan this evening, and if you haven't had an opportunity, I would strongly encourage you to read that document. It highlights a lot of different activities that could be or should be undertaken in order to resolve many of the issues that came up in the organisational health check. What the exact scope of a forensic audit is will need to be carefully considered by the new council. So defining what that is and defining what needs to be looked into will need to be something that council very carefully considers with the advice of the CEO, with the advice of the monitor, and having considered the organisational health check, which will be made available to councillors after the election, and the forward improvement plan when we consider it this evening, if we support the officer's recommendation. Thank you. Your third question.
Okay, thank you. My third question, I'm going to address the elephant in the room at the moment. We do have quite a lot of my fellow candidates in the gallery tonight who are either running for mayor or councillor or whatever. And I feel that I would like to actually know the Commissioner's opinions and what they feel can be done with the, allegedly, the recent reports of the former Mayor's arrest for mail tampering, allegedly. We'll put that down. So what are the ramifications regarding the outcome of the election? How is that going to work? And for the people, for the councillors, sorry, for the council candidates, I suppose, and the mayoral candidates. Sorry, I'll just wait until you're finished. Sorry.
I was just briefly consulting with the CEO on some legal aspects.
Yeah,
Please continue.
Should I start again? Oh, okay.
No.
I'm just wanting to know, because how, like, you got up at the beginning of the meeting and you said, you know, go and vote, and I understand that because that's obviously how democracy runs. But when you actually see allegedly of vote mail tampering and that sort of thing, how do my fellow council candidates here? How do we actually trust the process and trust the outcome? Because at this point in time, there doesn't seem to be much, how would you say, it seems to be, you know, crickets regarding this issue. So I'd like to find out some more.
So there's two elements to your question that I need to be very careful addressing. Firstly, this is a matter that has been referred to West Australian Police, and we understand that there are inquiries being made and investigation underway. So it's not appropriate for us to comment on that. Secondly, the town of Port Hedland has contracted the conduct of the election to the West Australian Electoral Commission. So the West Australian Electoral Commission is in charge of running the election process. So queries with respect to the running of the election need to be referred to the Electoral Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms Fisher. Are there any further questions? All right, there being no further questions. Oh, there are? Oh, Ash is, okay. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners and staff and the public. It's obviously making a very big meeting for you before your departures, and I guess we had to make it a big one after all, didn't we? Yeah. So thank you. Janet Gillingham, I'm a nominated candidate at this weekend's council elections, and I live in Cook Point.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you, much appreciated. I just have 3 short questions, and may not sound like questions, but I would like your feedback. During my time as a councillor between 2020 and 2023, I did move motions with regards to our council having a forensic audit, and it was without success. I do hope that this information that has been found has now made it part of your recommendation for a future forensic audit. That's my first question.
Yes, look, thank you, Ms Gillingham, and we've just want to reiterate the point that there were no findings in the organisational health check. It wasn't an investigation, there weren't any findings, but the general systemic issues that it raised would suggest that a forensic audit might be a good idea. It will be for a decision, it's a decision for a new council to take in light of the forward improvement plan that we will consider tonight, and working with the monitor and the temporary and new CEOs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My second question, so at the 19th of March OCM meeting, it was refreshing to hear that a forensic audit will hopefully to be conducted for our council to move forward. Thank you for your insight and investigations into this audit. Will the forward improvement plan be one of the first items on the very first or next OCM so that this can be moving forward?
Look, thank you for the question. The forward improvement plan is on the agenda this evening. I don't want to foreshadow any decisions that council will or won't take. The CEO at the moment is preparing, in conjunction with his team, an induction program for the new councillors. The new councillors will set, in conjunction with the administration, the the schedule and the focus of those meetings will be for the new council and the administration to determine together. So we can't foreshadow that. I'd suggest it should be pretty important order of business, but they'll sail their own ship that hopefully we've steadied. So thank you. Ms Gillingham, your third question.
Yes, it's just regarding a question I did ask at the start of your time here in Port Hedland. The land next to the Hedland Senior High School, along Hamilton Road there, and in between Hedland Senior High School and the Spinifex Artists Gallery opposite the Blue Stadium. I did ask what was happening with this land, because it was land that had been put aside for a shopping centre, liquor store, etc., etc. And this was something which many townspeople were not wishing to happen. It has not come to council at any time that I've known since your positions on council. Has anything being moved forward on that? It was originally to be a beautiful park, a walk-through park, etc. And we do know that alcohol's not allowed next to a high school. But I just wanted to know, did anything come of that, or is that something which will come as a reply this time? Because nothing has come back from when I did ask that question quite a number of months ago.
Okay, thank you for the question. I do recall it. I will say that in terms of forward projects, the major strategic review is going to be will highlight, will go out to the community, or the town will go out to the community and specifically ask for feedback on priority projects and what you'd like to see happen. I do recall the question though. I'll ask the CEO for an update on where we're up to looking into it, please.
Thank you, Chair. Director, Regulatory.
Thank you, through the Chair. Good evening, Mrs Gillingham. The town has not received any further updates at this time from the developer.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't quite hear what you said.
The town has not received any further updates from the developer in the last recent months.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Hey,
thank you, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Please come forward, state your name and suburb, and don't forget to fill out a question form.
Good afternoon. My questions are in reference to 12.4.
Sorry, your name and suburb, please, sir?
Ash Christensen from
Thank
South
you.
Hedland. It's been a long day. Again,
you and me both.
My questions refer to items 12.4.2, staff housing strategy. First question is, the strategy presents multiple options but does not prioritise or recommend a preferred delivery pathway. From the administration's perspective, what specific direction does this document provide to guide decision making over the next 12 to 24 months?
Look, thanks for the question. When I reviewed the matter too, I don't think that the paper was at all intended to recommend prioritisation. What it's done is suggested paths that a future council might take, and it will be for the future council to determine its priorities and what sorts of actions it will take. We'll obviously consider that matter later on. I think both Commissioner Aldridge and I have some comments or questions around it, but I might refer to the CEO for further comment.
Thank you, Chair. We're going to just even discuss this as our executive team this week. The strategy is a strategy subject to what the Commissioners resolved today. The history, as we understand it, goes back to 23, where Council's asked for a strategy to be put together. The particular issue is, how is it then performed? What's the operational plan behind that? And then how is that going to be put into the long-term financial plan? But I think the Commissioners have got to make a decision around that before it becomes an operational piece. I hope that answers your question.
And your second question, please, Mr Christensen.
No, I'll park those two because they're going to get the same response, being the fact that you're going to refer it to an operational plan, and just, yeah, I'll leave the comments for the statement time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck this weekend. Are there any further questions before we move on to public statement time? There being no further questions, I declare question time closed at 6:20 p.m. and we're now on to public statement time, open at 6:20 p.m. CEO, have we received any public statements?
Yes, Chair, we've received a written statement from Renee Coles and I believe Mr Frank Kane, albeit I haven't seen the one, yes.
Okay, either of you are welcome to come forward. Yes, please, Ms Coles, if you'd like to come forward and deliver your statement. Well, we receive public written statements first, and then we move on to non-written statements.
No, that's okay. We just had somewhere that he needed to get to.
You could waive your right if you like, and we can take Mr. Kane's statement and then move forward. It's just the standing orders require we take written statements first.
Fine.
Your choice.
I'll be quick then.
Okay, thank you.
And I forgot to, it's Renee Cole's South Helen, and I forgot to say that I'm a councillor nominee, although I have pulled from council nomination due to strong personal reasons. A public statement, asset accountability, cost control and future rates. We're living through an extremely uncertain and challenging time, and the impacts of ongoing global conflict are no longer distant or abstract. They've been felt right here in the Pilbara. Rising rates flagged by the Reserve Bank, increasing fuel costs and escalating delivery costs for local projects are placing real pressure on families. We're seeing higher grocery prices in our shelves, rising flight costs and more expensive services. In remote communities like Port Hedland, these pressures are felt earlier and more intensely than elsewhere. There's also growing concerns about the flow-on effects to our local economy, tourism and community events. We've already seen events cancelled closer to home, like the Carragini event, raising serious questions about what the uncertainty could mean for our own community, calendar and local businesses. I want to be clear, this is not about how residents choose to spend their own money or how families manage their personal lives. This is not the role of the town. This is about how ratepayers' funds are spent and whether council are exercising strong financial discipline at a time where the community is being asked to do more with less. Ratepayers want to know how spending decisions are being measured and challenged, how is unnecessary or discretionary expenditure being identified and stopped, how are in-house costs being closely monitored to ensure value for money. Just because something can be purchased does not mean it should be. There's also serious and reasonable expectations around accountability for the use of town assets, vehicles and other local government resources must be used strictly for operational purposes, closely monitored and transparency recorded. Any personal or unnecessary use of town asset undermines public trust and must have a clear accountability attached. Finally, residents are increasingly concerned about what all of this means for the future rates. With rising costs above the board, the community deserves early, honest communication about how council is planning to avoid passing these pressures directly onto household and businesses. These are difficult times on how the town of Port Hedland manages spending, assets and planning now and directly shape the financial stability, confidence and resilience of our community into the future.
Thank you very much for your statement. A lot of issues raised there that are very relevant to the matter we'll consider the forward improvement plan and also the major strategic review, which is currently underway and will be completed by the future council. Do we have any other public statements? Thank you, Mr. Kane.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Let's start off here on the 25th of the 10th, 25. I asked about Shire fines, still on my fines enforcement, which I can only get rid of them is from the Shire Council. They have to get the paperwork that was used in court, which is put and filed and stored away somewhere. So after 5 months, you still have not done this. And this is the Freedom of Information application forms I have been waiting for. So that's 50 days so far, when you have had 5 months to get this paperwork, and it's still not here. I have been asking for something so simple to get, but still nothing. The response from the CEO does not mean anything to me because you don't have the paperwork that the Shire used in court. And then on page 2, to the update this of Freedom of Information, I picked this paperwork up from the Shire office in Wedgfield at 3:15 today of the Freedom of Information. You have blocked out the names, dates, etc. There's no Crown stamps on it. And the thing is, in 2015, I watched the judge stamp that, and the paperwork that I give to the CEOs has all been stamped with the Crown, and everything else in here is all lies. They've cut out all names, everything else, even the fraud of the vesting orders of frauding the Governor-General's signatures back in 1995 and 1996. And it all started with the CEO handling the paperwork to the manager, Michael Covert, the environmental manager. So in a month, with the Shire having the paperwork that I gave to you three commissioners that was handed to the CEO, has and is not the paperwork that the judge had stamped, because I got a copy from that, and the judge put a stamp the paperwork and the Shire used as evidence against me. Thank you. So in other words, all that stuff that I give you, the original paperwork that I give to you in those 130 pages, that's only 17 Shillerman Street. That's nothing to do with anything else. That's not including Sutherland Street. Now, they've frauded and blocked out all names, everything else, and the worst part is, on the new Crown land title, they've turned around and put in the diagram number there, and the diagram number is actually that there with the Crown stamp on it, and if you turn around and have a look at that number, the number has been put over the top of the Crown stamp, and it's all frauded. And now in 2024, that is now legal with the Crown land title. Can you understand that? And the paperwork that's in there is some of the paperwork and even my marks on it that I put on there, so they were copied from that 130 pages that I give to you last month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. I can tell that these are issues of real significance to you, and I'm sorry that we've not been able to deal with them in a way that meets with your satisfaction. And
can you recommend somebody? They want me to pay for barristers again. They took all my money.
Well,
I'm down $3 million.
We're not in question time, but I just think your personal legal remedies may be the best course. But thank you very much for your statement, and I believe your 5 minutes has expired. So thank you very much.
15, it's 25, it's, 11, 14 years later, you know, that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
I still don't know why that's up there.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Thank you. Thank you.
I wasn't that great.
No, and no one is saying that you are, sir. So thank you. Are there any further comments? Yes, please come forward, state your name and address, and name and suburb, please.
Oakley Reynolds, South Headland. I'm representing myself on behalf of the Headland Amateur Swimming Club. Over the past few years, I've been working towards achieving state qualifying times, which has been supported by training in a variety of WA swimming pools and being part of Headland Amateur Swimming Club, the Northern Swimming Association and the Pilbara Sports Academy. Achieving state-level full qualification times and the opportunity to swim at state-level competitions has been a dream of mine since I was in swimming lessons. Since 2023, I've been able to race alongside future Olympians at statewide long course and short course competitions held at the High Performance Centre in Perth. I'm truly grateful for being awarded the Country Champions grant funding to be able to make these journeys smoother and my dreams come true. Thank you. I'm extremely proud of being an advocate for swimming and to be able to represent my town of Port Hedland at state level events with the view of national times ahead. I also wish to acknowledge the acceptance of the recent grant funding awarded to Blair Wheeler to compete in junior statewide long course championships in Perth. We wish her all the best. Without these country champs grant fundings available, it makes travel opportunities harder and dreams further away. Thank you once again to the Town of Port Hedland Grants Department for your continued support, and I will continue to represent myself and the town of Port Hedland as I continue in my aquatics.
Mr. Reynolds, I'm sure you're going to represent yourself and us with absolute distinction, and congratulations. I've said before what awesome young people we've got in Hedland, and you're a living, breathing example, and thank you for coming along tonight. I'm sorry I wasn't able to have a chat to you just before the meeting started, but I do want to acknowledge your remarkable achievements and encourage you to keep going, and no doubt you've been able to train alongside Olympians, and all the best in becoming one, because we'd love to see a Hedland kid make it big, and you be a wonderful ambassador for the town, as I'm sure Blair would as well. So congratulations to you both. Thank you for your statement tonight. All right, do we have any further statements? Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and suburb.
Naomi Park, South Hedland. I'm in Year 12 at Headland Senior High School, and I'm also part of the Youth Advisory Council. First of all, I'd like to thank the town of Port Hedland for the generous scholarship, which helped me pursue my passion. Because of this support, I was able to attend the National Maths Summer School, and it was such an amazing, eye-opening experience. I had the opportunity to learn alongside students who were really like-minded and shared similar interests, basically a bunch of nerds in the best way possible. It was inspiring to be surrounded by people who were just as excited about learning, and it motivated me to keep pushing myself academically. This opportunity wouldn't have been possible without your support, especially coming from a regional town where access to programs like this can be limited. I'm really grateful that the town of Port Hedland had scholarships available for students like me. And yeah, thank you again to town of Port Hedland for helping me take part in such a valuable experience and represent the town of Port Hedland. Thank you.
Ms. Park, again, thank you. You guys are setting a very high bar for the adults in the room. So congratulations. And I know that the town, when we were briefed on the various scholarship and programs that the town offers, I know that there's a lot of passion in the staff for providing them. I know it was a real priority for the previous council, and I'm sure will be for the future one. But look, as a nerd myself, keep going, and congratulations and all the best for your future. And I just think it's wonderful that we are supporting sporting prowess and academic brilliance. It's important that we do both and recognise the diversity and strengths in our young people. Geez, the town's future's in good hands. So all the best to you. Keep up the good work. If you're in Year 12, you've got a hard road to hoe for the next 9 months or so. So good luck with your ATAR and wish you all the best for your future. Okay, are there any further public statements? Please come forward, state your name and suburb. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations, young people. Good evening, everyone. My name's Sharon Todd and I'm from South Hedland. I just have a statement in relation to agenda item 12.4.1, and it's regarding the Friends of the Cemetery group. I just want to let you know that an informal meeting was held at the cemetery on the week of the 28th February, and I'm happy to submit those minutes to council tomorrow with the recommendations of the community members that were present. And I would also like to say that they are keen to keep up the momentum and seek continued improvements for both of our cemeteries. And I'd also like to acknowledge the clean-up that was done there yesterday. Wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your care for the cemetery. It's really important that we get community groups activated and engaged in supporting the council's work. So thank you, Ms. Todd, to you and the Friends of the Cemetery for your incredibly important work, and we will consider the cemetery this evening. Okay, do we have any further public statements? Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and suburb for the record.
Yes, my name is Miss Dorothy Papertop, and I'm just coming here to make a statement that I did last year, and it was against being a gardener at RSL Community Garden. Now, I've worked and did that garden really proud for the town community. It had big joints, flowers, everything. I'm sorry, but I worked under Miss Kelly Howard's wings, and she treated me like nothing. She made me work hard, got the place done, be an assistant for the garden competition, and a week before everything came together, I was sacked like a piece of dirt, and I felt really lost, like my ancestors. I'm in their footprints, and it hurt me. I'm sorry with the tears. It still hurt me today. And I didn't go back to the community garden, but I met the new manager, Tim. He's a lovely man, and I would love to go back to that garden, but I can't without Mrs. Howard there at the moment. Because I would like to go back there because the community is just calling me back and wondered where I'd go to. I didn't put nothing up on that. I just stayed home. Didn't want to face the world. I lost my respect, my dignity and my culture inside of me. Not only that, and I appreciate you, Lee and the Shire mob getting me through for 4 years, took me 2 years with the Cook Point mob helping me get through to getting them benches next to the cemetery grave, and then we got the cemetery park. So we enjoying the spirits of the ancestors there watching us new generation. So we're combining together with our Maras. Han, as you, nobody knows, sorry, but that's my statement, and I applied for a statement against her. She invited me and my boss along and a volunteer worker to one of her functions. Didn't notify us, just told us to come along. So we went along because she was our boss. She gave us a certificate, and I would like to show you this certificate. And I even asked with a bit of support with Ashburton to arrange a meeting with her just to say sorry, and I will give you a proper certificate. Now, this is a volunteer. I was a gardener, not a volunteer. And I got certificates when I was a teacher assistant in all different areas in this community. And I'm just sort of retired at the moment, as you can obviously see. But I shouldn't have been working. I was a casual worker, but I was working full time, but I was only getting paid casual. I'm speaking out because it's happened to me, and I don't know what went wrong. Ashburton and Miss Howard, I tried to get things done and that, but everything was no. Like tools, I even hurt myself on the job. I even got a scar on my right leg, on my shin, which I could have reported and get compo, but I didn't. Even the utensils, garden tools, they're 10 years old, secateurs and everything, rusted. She gets volunteers, come in and she buys them clothes. And when I asked for clothes, which she's supposed to help, because I'm, casual worker for the Shire, and that, it was all no. So I'm here letting yous know, and that all I wanted was apologise from her and a proper certificate, gardener, for the RSL Community Garden. And I would like to go back there and bring that back to life for the community, which is still crying out for me. And that's where my heart is like to help the community. And I want fair share. That's it, We all live in the same town. We all work together. And from my bottom of my heart and faith, if everyone find it in your heart and faith, with the committee, yeah. Maybe have a brand new one. Maybe see how we go with the brand new committee. We only can give it a go, but that's the choice you've got to make.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And look, Ms. Papertalk, thank you for your statement. I can see that these are issues that you feel very deeply about. The council doesn't involve itself in matters that are involved with the RSL. So I just want to, I suppose, put that out there. But I reflected while you were speaking on the conversation we had earlier today, where you did talk about what we do with our Mara, and how that space is available now with the garden next to where those benches are, recognising your beautiful grandchildren. I just want to thank you for your clear commitment to community, and encourage you to continue to be involved, and clearly gardening is something you're very passionate about, and there may be opportunities in the future for you to engage with the RSL. Like I say, it's not something that the town of Port Hedland...
Well, I've spoken with the manager and they love me to come back, and I said, yes, I will come back with
then
you.
that sounds
helping out.
That sounds
and
great.
also the community people want to come back and hang out again.
That sounds lovely. And as I say, thank you again for involving us today in the commemoration for your grandchildren, and I wish you all the very best in the future. Thank you. And
it also was programs for when school holidays for kids and parents to come along, and also for the Kalari house to get out of there and just come sit out in the garden and just hang out and shop at the op shop, and it was going great, but then it's just all disappeared there for a little while. But I want to bring it back again, like the giant sunflowers.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Ms. Papertalk, and thank you again for today. Are there any further statements? Thank you. Please come forward, state your name and suburb.
Thanks, Camillo Blanco, Wedgfield, 18 Harwood. I'm just going to go through a few points that, you know, I can't do, well, that I couldn't do when I was on council, but I can now. So we had a member of the community up here, Mr. Kane. He's been up here a few times, giving the previous council a spray. Obviously, you know, I like to give you commissioners a spray, but, you know, he's given you guys a spray. Unfounded, you know. I have, you know, a good understanding of what's happening because I was mayor at the time. So he took that land that he was on, he squatted on that land. Okay.
All right, Mr. Blanco, I appreciate,
Yes.
I appreciate, just please bear with me. I'll suspend your few minutes, but I just want to caution you that I can rule questions or statements that are made that potentially stray into defamatory or unsavoury conduct out of order. And I do that as much with your interests at heart as anyone else's. It's not a good idea to get involved in sort of statements that involve the legal positions of others.
I understand.
I just counsel you.
I understand.
That. Okay, please continue. You have 4 minutes.
In reference to your comment there, he was up here at the last council meeting he attended, giving me a hard time, saying I was the problem.
Yes,
Okay.
and Mr. Blanco, you may recall that I also have called statements like that out of order. So you may be interested to know.
Did you call his statement out of order?
In respect, go back and watch the meeting. The comments he made, I ruled out of order with respect to you to protect your reputation as well. I ruled them out of order. So I would bring that to your attention, encourage you to watch the meeting footage.
Okay, thank you. So, you know, people that come up to this podium and talk about things that the council is or is not allowed to do need to have an understanding of the Act. The council can't get involved in this. It's an administrative matter. It's about payments, and it's nothing we can do about it. So it's in court, hands tied, not a council issue. It's an administrative issue. It's clearly been going on for way too long, and he should sort it out himself. In relation to the election issues that was discussed today, I put multiple complaints into multiple agencies, and I'll just give you a high-level, you know, idea of the responses from those agencies. The WAEC, you need to refer it to the police. The AFP, Australian Federal Police, because the mail has been delivered and it's in the mailbox, nothing to do with them, you need to refer it to the WA Police. Even though the federal legislation states that if you interfere with mail, it's a federal crime. And obviously the police are still investigating. So I'll leave it at that. But my point there is it's a merry-go-round. It's a football game where they handball the issue to each other and nothing happens. I've put these complaints in before. Nothing's happened about it. Now, in relation to this report that we've received, you know, over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about council dysfunction, about, you know, it's a council issue. Well, when you have a look at, you know, some of the issues that are highlighted, you know, the weakness in the application of internal controls, together with possible weakness in the leadership of the organisational structure itself. You know, there's some really serious statements that have been made in this report. Across the governance and organisational structure, there's a need for clearer accountability. Obviously, what I've been talking about for the last, you know, 2.5 years. Stronger separation in roles, more consistent application in the governance framework Obviously, the hierarchy doesn't understand what responsibilities are theirs, and then when council members question it and ask for accountability, it is regarded as dysfunction. That is something that you need to take in consideration when you consider this report tonight. It is not dysfunctional for the council to ask questions about serious financial issues that have been plaguing this council since 21. We had everything in check in 2019. If you look back at what was going on when I was mayor, we were getting awards for our governance, all right? And then all of a sudden, the council's suspended, and we end up with a council that's totally dysfunctional. The inference that dysfunction started in 2023 is totally incorrect.
Your time is up, Mr. Blanco. Thank you. You've raised a number of comments, issues with respect to the 5 minutes is up, and in fact, I've given you more than 5 minutes. So you have other platforms where you are able to make the issues that you're concerned about known, and I would encourage you to use those.
Ms. Shaw, can I request a further 5 minutes?
No, I'm afraid you can't. I'm afraid you. Okay, Mr. Blanco, public time is enabled 15 minutes. I've allowed it tonight to go for 65 minutes because I appreciate a lot of people want to have a say. So the short answer is no, you can't keep going. I would encourage other members who of the community who may also want to make a public statement if they'd like to come forward. Thank you. Please come forward and state your name and suburb.
I'll get it right this time. Ash Christensen from South Hedland. I'll try and keep it very brief as I can. To say that I'm struggling to understand the purpose of the staff housing strategy right now is a little bit of an understatement. I'm a little bit perplexed. And again, if I'm going to misrepresent what was said here tonight, please, by all means, at the end of my statement, please correct me because I want to make sure I'm as correct as I can be. But we've been told here tonight that the staff housing strategy is not intended to guide decision making and that the real work will occur through an operational plan. But that raises a fundamental question. If that's the case, what exactly are you adopting here tonight? A strategy, by definition and by my best understanding, should provide direction. It should prioritise options, define outcomes, and give the administration a clear mandate on what to do next. This document, in my opinion, doesn't do that. What it does do is confirm what we already know, that housing in Hedland is constrained and very expensive. And that also attracting and retaining staff is also a challenge. But none of this is new to us. What is missing is a critical piece. What are we actually going to do about what we already know? As you can see and read through the report, there is 8 options presented with significant financial implications ranging from positive returns through to 20 million in negative net present value. Yet, there is no preferred pathway, no prioritisation, and no clear staging of delivery. If we are serious about improving our quality of plans and strategies, as has been suggested here tonight through answering some questions, then we need to be equally serious about what we accept as a strategy or plan moving forward. At a minimum, I would expect this document to clearly define what success looks like, how it will be measured, and what first steps are going to be taken to address the current shortfall of the 29 dwellings that was easily identifiable. Without that, there's a risk that this document becomes yet another document on the wall of Town of Port Hedland documents that say, hey, we have a strategy, without actually committing to a course of action. And again, we have plenty of those to give examples of. I think it's owed to the Town of Port Hedland workers, the organisation as a whole, and to the community to ensure that this work leads to real outcomes and not just further planning. I, again, look forward to hearing your debate here tonight to give me other insights and perspectives that I may have overlooked. And again, I thank you for the time.
Well, thank you for the statement. A couple of observations. Firstly, we haven't adopted that strategy. It is coming forward to us. So the document that you see has been prepared by the officers with a series of recommendations. One of the things I suppose I'd observe is that it certainly does provide a lot of information upon which future councils can make key decisions. And we are also in caretaker, so it's kind of difficult on some aspects that involve major significant decisions. So it's also open to council, the future council, to revise any policies or strategies that we do now. So we've gone through this major process of trying to update the 40 or 50 outstanding policies that weren't here when we came on board 7 months ago. But we've tried to package them all up and hand them over to the new council. Could be completely changed, but what we are trying to do is at least set some baselines, provide information and help the new council make the best possible informed decisions. So, but as I say, we will consider that report, and I'm sure the officers have heard what you've said tonight, and I'm sure if any of your fellow attendees this evening are on council, or if anyone's tuned in from home, they will have taken those comments on board as well. Are there any further questions? Any further public statements? All right, there being no further public statements, I'll declare public time closed at 6:50 p.m. 6:51 p.m, sorry. All right. Okay, petitions, deputations, presentations, submissions, there have been none presented, CEO?
None received, Chair.
Okay, questions from members without notice, number 7. Are there any questions from commissioners without notice? Not yet. Thank you. We've dealt with item 8. Item 9, declarations of all members to have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business paper before the meeting. I invite all commissioners to declare by show of hands they've given due consideration to all matters contained within the agenda. Thank you. Item 10, we have an officer's recommendation before us on the screen with respect to the minutes of the ordinary council meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Jurovic.
Seconded.
Thank you. Reports of committees. Audit, Risk and Compliance Committee. We have an officer's recommendation before us on the screen. A simple majority vote is required. Could I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
I second.
I'd just like to briefly speak to this motion. I just want to explain the second element of the recommendation there, and that came from ARIC, requesting the temporary Chief Executive Officer to take that particular strategy back to Council. And the reason for that is because it was not presented to Council as part of the consultation process. And when you consider that Council does such a lot of work with respect to stakeholder engagement in particular, I thought it was a particular oversight, and the Audit and Risk Committee spent some time thinking about that. Similarly, at the AFS, before that committee meeting, the risk appetite statement review was discussed, which also hadn't been presented to Council. And I do think it's important to note that where matters of risk are concerned, it is, I think, rather problematic that Council is bypassed in the development of the town's risk positions. Risk and the appetite for it and the measurement of it affects every single aspect of the Council's operations and is key to the strategy that this Council and the governance function that Council has oversight of. So I just wanted to make that statement. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Reports of officers. Item 12.1, Statement of Financial Activity. We have an officer's recommendation displayed on the screen that requires an absolute majority vote.
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded?
I second the motion.
As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority, if nobody wishes to speak to it. Item 12.1.2, Policy and Codes of Conduct Review. I would note Commissioner Jurovic's conflict of interest at the beginning of the meeting, and he will recuse himself from the decision process and wait outside. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on screen that requires a simple majority vote. Could I have a mover?
I so move.
I second that from the chair. Does anybody wish to discuss the motion? Thank you, Commissioner Jurovic. Commissioner Aldridge, sorry. It's been a long day.
Point of order. I'll make a few brief remarks. And I think this was one of the things that commissioners noted when we first arrived, that there were a number of outstanding policies for review, and each policy has a different review timeframe. I think the officer report quite helpfully points out those which have been considered by council dating back to, I think, around 2024. These are the last 10 policies that were overdue for review. On top of the 17 that we have reviewed as commissioners, that brings the new council up to date in terms of its policy review. And I think that's an important thing, not to say that they can't change any of these at their first council meeting, but they certainly will have more pressing matters to deal with come this Saturday, with a looming annual budget, rate setting, differential rate setting, long-term financial plan, key worker housing project, amongst many other near-term decisions and priorities that they will face. It's good to get these in order, and I'd like to thank the staff who have worked fairly feverishly to deliver these, to deliver on the expectations set by commissioners with respect to policy review. So I commend the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. I absolutely support your comments. It's been such an important part of just trying to get everything straightened up, and the best of luck to the newly elected council. If they choose to change the policies, obviously that's within their remit, but getting a nice set based on best practice and organisational convention across Western Australia, I think that's an important thing, just to try and get the town of Port Hedland back onto the straight and narrow. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. And could someone let Commissioner Jurovic know he can come back in? Thank you. Item 12.1.3, ministerial application rating. We have an officer's recommendation displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Could I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Second.
Does anyone wish to speak to the item?
I do not.
Thank you. As the motion is not opposed, I declare it carried by a simple majority. Item 12.1.4, we have a item displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
So move.
And a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
I might just...
Commissioner Aldridge?
I might just say I've been to many annual general meetings of electors, but never one so quick as this one.
A fast game's a good game. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.1.5, update to the ARIC independent member meeting fees following SAT determination. We have an officer's recommendation displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Could I have a mover?
I so move.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I second.
Thank you. And does someone wish to speak to the... Yes, thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
Can I just say, and particularly given that this was raised during public question time, if I'm not mistaken, I think some context is important with respect to this item. So SAT did make a new determination late last year with effect from 1 January. And obviously our appointment of our ARIC independent members predated that decision of the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal. I think we have attracted 2 very highly qualified independent members, and they will obviously, their reappointment or the appointment of others and the establishment of the committee will be something that will be considered, I think, probably as soon as next week by the next council. But I think it's important to recognise that there's 139 local governments in Western Australia currently going through the process of attracting independent members to the ARICs, and these people, suitably qualified professional people, are not that easy to come by. And when you look at the fee, I think at the moment it might be $450 per meeting. That's all we pay them for the meeting attendance fee. We don't pay them for the briefing sessions. We don't pay them for the review of all of the papers. We don't pay them for the time taken to travel to Port Hedland and return to their homes, which could be the day before and the day after. They simply get a meeting fee. And I think, having engaged with other local governments here in the Pilbara zone, I think they are all moving towards setting it at the highest end of the band, which is the officer's recommendation before us tonight. I think if I can associate my remarks with those of Commissioner Shaw in response to the public question earlier, I think that the importance of ARIC, and in particular the skills that will be brought by the independent members once reformed by the new council, will be critical.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Jurevich?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I speak in favour, totally in favour of this recommendation. Based on, well, you only got to look at the professionalism of the two existing members, and as Commissioner Aldridge mentioned, they are up for renewal come the new council, whoever it may be. But there's a lot of work goes into ARIC. There's a lot of work goes into not just the meeting, but the preamble to the meeting, travelling and all the rest of it. $450 just doesn't scratch it. And I'm glad that this has turned up, because at that figure, even though some professional people will be losing money doing this, it's at least somewhere down the track, and I commend this totally.
Thank you, and I support both of your comments, and my views on the importance of ARIC and this particular item are on the record from earlier tonight. There being no opposition to the motion, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. Item 12.2.1, we have an officer's recommendation in front of us that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
I just want to make a few brief remarks on this item. I think I've really enjoyed the engagement that we've had with young people in our short 7 months here. Particularly, we had a big roundtable meeting with members of the YIC and the YAC. And even hearing from some of the young people tonight just reinforces what a bright future Hedland has if they play leadership roles, in particular in our community. I think this report, the progress report, and obviously the endorsement that is sought to progress the next phase of the town's strategic direction, I think probably, having read the report, there's lots of highlights, but I think it reflects what positive change and significant impact can be achieved with even a small budget, which I think, in the order of $300,000, I think I read from reading the strategy. And when you have a look at some of the increased participation, the program delivery, but also some of the challenges and unmet need that still needs to be targeted in terms of the development of the next strategy for the town. I think there's been some really great work, and it's really it's probably not a report that everyone will turn their minds to, but I would highly recommend it.
I'll just briefly say I think this is an example of public service done well. I think it's been a great service, and when I've been down to the depot and met with the team, so much positivity and energy, and really great people, and bringing the best out of our kids. So I think it's a very synergistic and positive relationship between the community and between the young people in our community and the town, and bright things ahead. So all the best with, congratulations to you and your team, Ms. Banks, for completing the report, and all the best with the rollout. Okay. Item 12.2.2, before we move the motion, I did just have a quick question, if I may, CEO, on it. I just wanted to understand the Reconciliation Action Plan. When we were appointed, I was actually quite shocked that one hadn't been in place for almost a decade. I think that's deeply lamentable, and was certainly something that I really wanted to see us at least initiate in my time here. I would observe the comments that were made around the Nullakuru Kumamari plan that was planned for 2024 to 2028 that wasn't adopted by council. And having a read through the paper, there's a 6-stage process outlined that says council's involved in approving this, in saying go ahead and do the work, and then brought in at the very end to approve it. And I can't help but wonder if there mightn't be a way to try and involve councillors who have an interest a bit more proactively in the Reconciliation Action Plan, both in the spirit of reconciliation itself, because we need to walk hand in hand with our First Nations community members, and that is as much the administration as also the council. But I just wonder if it might help the buy-in and approval of a Reconciliation Action Plan if the council has been more proactively involved. And this is a fantastic opportunity for us to do some great work here. So I'd appreciate a view on that, please, CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, look, how that's involved is going to be discussion with the council when they're on board, and what form that's going to take. Of course, as we've said before, there are specific legislative requirements for the council to be involved in, but when you recognise that 27% of the population is of Aboriginal descent, we need to find a way to actually engage in a greater depth. I know that the director was particularly looking at how do we actually add schedules or structures to the RAP process, and I think probably in fairness to the work that the director's done, I'll refer that further.
Thank you.
So the report does, through the chair, the report does highlight exactly what you're saying, that the framework does need buy-in, not only from our wider community, but even internally from the top. So it can't be led by the community services team. It has to be led by the CEO, by the directors, by our managers, and it filters down that way. It goes even higher than that, and that is that, yes, we do need to bring our council and our councillors on the journey. They do need to have input, but most importantly, we need to bring our elders together and work alongside them to actually guide us. So this framework or this plan is actually for the council. It's not for community. So I think, we've really got to get that message really clear to everybody involved here. So I totally support what you're saying. It is the message that I've been saying to all my team and to our CEO and to the ELT team. So I really appreciate what you're saying.
Thank you. Congratulations on bringing this forward. I think it's such a gap, and one that I hope can be filled by the new council. And so all the best with executing this action plan development process. I wish you all the very best with it, and thank you for prioritising it. Okay, that answers my questions. Could I have a mover?
I so move.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.3, we have an item before us that displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
A second.
Does anyone wish to speak to the matter?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
I would just like to say a few remarks on the Visitor Centre Quarterly Report, and I note that I've made some previous comments about the frequency that these reports are received by Council, but also the significant work that seafarers have to do in reporting to this extent to Council on a quarterly basis. But every time I read them, particularly the visitors' comments are quite heartening, really positive, and really shows the work that they have been doing is good, but also the reflections on the community are also similarly aligned. I did want to recognise that from 1 November, the Visitor Centre will be returning to town hands after 2 years, and I'd like to thank the seafarers for the work that they have done in operating the town's visitor centre during that time.
Thank you. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.3.2, we have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen, but I think before we call for movers and seconders, there may be questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
Chair, can I just seek some confirmation, because I notice that there are a number of provisions relating to the Planning and Development Act and its subsidiary legislation that prevent consideration of certain matters during caretaker period, which the town of Port Hedland is currently in under section 3.73 of the Act. I just wanted to confirm that this isn't one of those instances.
The CEO.
Thank you, Chair. And that's also significant. It's also determined by Functions and General Regulations 3A. Our team have considered that against all of those provisions. So Regulation 3A6B was not applicable. It's not a local planning strategy. 3A6 was not applicable as the planning and development. It wasn't a local planning scheme in the Regulations 2015. And also in relation to Regulation 3A6D was not applicable in the planning and development provisions for local planning schemes. It's a standard amendment, not a complex amendment. 3A6E was not applicable as it's not commencing a review of a local planning scheme. And 3A6F, not applicable as not commencing the preparation of an instrument of repeal. And also 6G, 3A6G was not applicable as it was not a local planning policy, Commissioner.
Thank you. Any further questions?
No, I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation.
You're happy to move it, and can I have a seconder?
So second.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurovic. As the motion is not opposed, I declare it carried by a simple majority. Item 12.3.1. Oh, we've done. Oh, hang on. Where am I up to? Oh, sorry. Sorry, it is late. Item 12.4. 12.4. We have a motion in front of us that requires a simple majority. Could I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
A seconder?
Second the motion.
Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No, thank you. Okay, as the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.4.2, Staff Housing Strategy. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
Do I have a seconder?
I second.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak to this motion?
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge.
Thanks, Chair. We've just rattled ahead pretty quickly, so I just need to find where I'm at.
Do you want me to say a few words while you look?
Sure.
Okay. My comments will be brief, only to acknowledge that I too recognise that what this document does is provide a lot of options for council to then go ahead and consider. The council may wish to do a bit more work around staff housing, but housing more broadly. It's such a hot topic in Port Hedland that it does warrant sustained attention by council. I would also just caution, in light of the organisational health check and the future improvement plan, that council should be very careful considering options 5, increased remote working, and option 6, Perth office placements. I do think that council needs to consider very carefully how it utilises those things and maybe put those a little lower down the order of options, but you know, that's just a serving suggestion. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to make some comments, not in a dissimilar vein to you. I should have gone first. I guess the first thing I want to do is just draw attention to page Roman numeral 3 of the executive summary, and it says under a heading, Role of Staff Housing in Council's Broader Strategy, and I quote, "The report emphasises that in a highly volatile, high-cost regional economy shaped by mining cycles, staff housing is not a peripheral benefit but a core strategic lever for Council. The recommended strategy provides a high-level framework to be complemented by detailed business cases and integration into the long-term financial plan as individual initiatives are brought forward. By combining target investment in local housing with flexible support measures and remote work opportunities, Council can improve recruitment and retention outcomes, enhance service continuity and contribute to a more resilient and sustainable community over the coming decade." And if I can turn back to the officer's report, I think it's obvious that housing is critical to our workforce strategy. And if you look in the staff housing strategy, a average length of service for a town of Port Hedland employee, if I recall correctly, is 1.9 years. Now, I would have thought we'd probably have the lowest long-term retention rate of staff in the local government sector. I'd be interested to see if there's somebody that's worse than that. I do add some caution to some of the approaches, and the strategy does talk about a blended approach, but what worries me is the cheapest approach is the remote working approach, and there are a number of risks that council needs to fully consider, not just from a HR, work health and safety, employee performance and those types of risks, but other risks of obviously ensuring that we deliver essential services and functions to the Hedland community, and whether or not that can be done or done efficiently. And when I talk about efficiency, it's not just about financial efficiency from a remote location. I would add some caution to council considering future business cases that not just to join the chorus of large industry players who fly the white flag and say it's all too hard and we're just going to fly our workforce in from Perth, that we actually need to try harder and tackle some of the challenges associated with recruitment and retention of our workers in the region, in our community, and being part of our community. And so I think the council needs to look at all of the options. I think they all have merit, they all have strengths and weaknesses, but I think unfortunately it's going to have to see significant capital investment in the long term.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, as the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.4.3, Hedland Senior High School traffic improvements. We have 3 officers' recommendations displayed on the screen that require a simple majority vote. Do I have to take them all separately, or can we just take them en masse? Okay, thank you. Could I have a mover?
So moved, Chair.
Oh, they're all sorry. It appears on the screen differently to how it appears in my notes.
We did just before the meeting.
Yeah.
Put them into one.
Yeah, don't make it too complicated for me. Thank you, Commissioner Jurevich. Seconded. Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak to it? Yes, sorry, Commissioner Aldridge. Was it questions or
No,
it's just speak to it?
Yep.
Okay, go for it.
So I think this is a good initiative where we can use our resource and our expertise to assist in a good outcome for the community, and particularly for road safety. However, at the moment, what we're doing is endorsing the application for a grant agreement. I sought clarification earlier today that that was something that was permissible during the caretaker period, and the advice is that it is. Obviously, if this grant application turns into a grant agreement and then potentially a tender, there'll be further council scrutiny of those matters at a future time. I guess I just wanted to point out a couple of sensitivities that I have. I mean, this is a project that's estimated to be between $1.5 and $2 million in cost, and as I said, it's not necessarily our problem to solve, but it's good that we can be part of the solution and use our expertise to deliver the outcome. What I would encourage the council formed on Saturday to do is scrutinise, when it comes back to council, the risks, particularly risks associated to scope and cost escalation. We know we have a bit of a problem looming with contractors, and in particular bitumen and diesel and other input costs are going to rapidly increase, and I think we have to wear those often when it's our project, but this is a project that we're managing potentially on behalf of the state. So I would want to see that any deal that we end up doing with the Department of Transport and or the Department of Education is an agreement whereby they wear the financial risk and we deliver the project for them. But ultimately that will be something that the council will consider when it comes back to them in the form of a grant agreement or a tender request. And these issues are real. particularly when we consider it in the context of the next item that we will consider shortly.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. Commissioner Yurevich? No. Okay, so as the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. Item 12.4.4, we have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires an absolute majority vote. Can I have a mover?
So move.
Who was that, sorry? So, Marty, you moved it?
Ron.
Oh, Ron moved it.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, does anybody wish to speak to the motion? No? As the motion is... Oh, sorry, Commissioner Aldridge.
Obviously, this item, it's not preferable that we are being asked to approve an additional $275,000, but I think, I mean, I could probably speak for an extensive period on each of the dot points, but certainly there's a number of stars have aligned against us. There are some concerns that I have, particularly around the state infrastructure, the high pressure sewer line, and which appears to be on our property without an easement, but also the cost of that Horizon Power, which of course you've got no choice because they're a monopoly provider of electricity infrastructure, to remove, I think it is it 8 light poles at a cost of $80,000 and associated works by the sounds of it. It just seems like an extraordinary amount of money from my perspective, and so I hope we're asking them to justify their expense that they are going to charge the town and we're going to have to pay to get this project completed, particularly when it appears that there was some prior consent in place to allow our contractors to do it. So I think there is some explanation that needs to be provided by Horizon Power, and I hope we don't let them off the hook too easily, but I hope that from this exercise we're able to map some of those services and the utilities that are being Water Corp in particular that have their assets on our property, that they might enter into appropriate arrangements, including easements that recognise them.
Thank you. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Item 12.5.1. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires an absolute majority vote. Do I have a mover?
I so move.
And a seconder?
I second.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? I'll just very briefly express our thanks to BHP for their ongoing support for the Town of Port Hedland's events. Item 12.5.2. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires an absolute majority vote. Do I have a mover?
I so move.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
And does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Aldridge.
I commend the officer's recommendation. This is obviously a regulatory requirement that we certify that the recruitment of the new incoming CEO was done in accordance with the model standards. I'm not going to lie that this was one of the most challenging exercises undertaken in my time as a commissioner. And I hope that the new council on Saturday does not need to consider this again in the next 5 years, which is the term of the CEO's contract. I do encourage council, once formed, to consider the terms of reference review that was undertaken by the CEO Recruitment and Selection Committee to better understand why this approach should never be taken again. Nevertheless, we have attracted and secured a very experienced CEO who commences on May 11, and I wish him and the council all the best.
Thank you. I'd just like to support Commissioner Aldridge's comments. I really do encourage the new council to read the terms of reference review and note the comments made about the highly irregular process that was adopted, which I think was symptomatic of the state that the council found itself in, and for some 12 months just could not even form a committee in order to recruit a CEO. So it meant that there was a very complex process that was put in place. The process that was put in place was compliant, but I do think it caused an awful lot of delay, complexity, hand-wringing, and was one of the most and costly processes that the council's undertaken. I've done a lot of recruitment in my time, and this was by far the hardest process I've ever had to go through. But I just reinforce Commissioner Aldridge's comments about the quality of the candidates who were shortlisted and the candidate that we appointed to the final role. This is just another area where it would be good if the town of Port Hedland could act in a way that's consistent with normal processes in other councils around Western Australia. As Commissioner Jurevich, do you have anything to say?
Only to say I don't have many regrets about being Commissioner of Port Hedland, except this one. I was glad to see the end of this one.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurevich. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by absolute majority. Item 13, new business of urgent nature, late items. We've received 2 items of new business of an urgent nature, being item 13.1, Town of Port Hedland Forward Improvement Plan, and 13.2, convening of a special council meeting on the 2nd of April 2026. I move these items be decided upon at tonight's meeting. Can I have a seconder?
So second.
Okay, item 13.1, the Town of Port Hedland's Forward Improvement Plan. We have an officer's recommendation as displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote. Can I have a mover?
I so move.
And can I have a seconder?
A second.
Now, I did have a series of questions, but I've just realised I've left them in my office. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask while I run into the office and grab my questions?
I'm happy to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. I'll be back in a minute.
I was going to make some brief remarks, which I might make less brief. But I think it's, if commissioners can recall, we had a special council meeting last week and we adopted an alternative recommendation which required the temporary CEO to provide a remediation plan by the April ordinary council meeting, so a plan that will be considered by the incoming council. Now, this is obviously very swift progress towards this. This isn't the remediation plan, as I understand it. That's going to be a much more detailed operational plan, but this certainly sets out 65 actions, and obviously there was a lot of interest in one response tonight, which was the forensic audit or the suggestion of a forensic audit. I think there was almost criticism that the commissioners in the 3 business days since we considered the health check report on Thursday of last week hadn't commissioned one, which when you consider you have to scope something, go through a procurement process, find a service provider, appoint somebody, particularly from members of the public who were former councillors would understand that probably moving within the space of a few weeks would even be challenging. But this has to be done in an orderly process, not a knee-jerk reaction, and certainly there are 65 actions contained in the Forward Improvement Plan that is before Council tonight for adoption. I'm simply not going to have time to go through it. It's a very extensive document, but I do welcome, particularly at the end of the document, where there is talk of the reporting framework. And I think the reporting framework is strong, and it does reflect Council's resolutions last Thursday with respect to regular and detailed reporting, not just to Council, but to ARIC. And I think I welcome those inclusions in this forward implementation plan. I think it sets out at quite a high strategic level how the response will occur, and obviously the remediation plan that might be considered as early as the April ordinary council meeting will provide more detailed operational responses, I think, in relation to the 65 actions that are contained in this report.
Thank you, Commissioner Aldridge. You can always rely on a former member of the upper house to fill a bit of space if so needed. I do have a few questions. Actually, it's a very serious matter. I do have a few questions about this. This is governance has been something that I've taken a particular interest in, and certainly the health check and FIP process. I'd just like to ask the CEO about whose report this is. I want to understand the dynamic between the inspector, the monitor, and the temporary or permanent CEO. Whose report this is, and what implications that has for the next phase that the council's entering into.
Thank you, Chair. So originally I put together a scope for council for a health check. When it took the health check was then presented at a meeting, and also I've met with Mr Hammond, and I've taken instruction or a direction from the local government inspector to actually put together a forward improvement plan, primarily based off some of the themes that were identified within the health check, and particularly they were around the ERP, around governance frameworks, asset management, work health and safety components for the staff. So the inspector has given a direction for this item to be presented, and it is primarily built from the work that's been done by the health check. Who owns it? It's owned by both the council and the chief executive officer, and I wrote into the report there that there are components of that need to be run by the chief executive officer, which would probably have a number of directors, maybe independent person working with the chief executive officer on some of the components, and moving forward to also looking at the structure that's been put in the FIP that actually has particular ownership components to ARIC and council. So you can see that between, I guess, the administrative roles and the role of both ARIC and council, which I tried to enunciate in my written report, the specific statutory components. But the FIP is a direction from the inspector.
Okay, I just think it's important to clarify that because obviously the inspector has taken a significant step in appointing the monitor, and that sort of reporting up to the inspector to give the inspector the comfort that not just the challenges that the council has experienced, but also that clearly the administration has experienced are being appropriately attended to. So I just wanted to get some clarity around that. So thank you. In terms then of project management, we've talked about ownership of the document, but I just wondered, we touched on this at the last meeting where we were talking about the organisational health check. Project management of this and the suggestion that was made around a fifth director specifically looking at governance. I just wondered if you could tease that out in the context of this FIP, please.
Yeah, thank you. I've made the recommendation both in the health check report, and you can also see it being carried forward in relation to alignment in the FIP, that there is a need, considering the number of issues and improvements that need to be considered, and some of these will be fairly significant components that need to be looked into, that there's a need for a project director to be considered by council, and my recommendation in the report was to leave it to council in its budget deliberations for the director of governance was my recommendation, but also just understanding that the number of issues and some of the systemic matters that are sitting within the report. Commissioners may recall that in the mid-year review we allocated an amount of $300,000 towards strategic services to assist both the temporary and the substantive chief executive officer when Mr Stewart comes on board to start working through some of these components. The hardest component for the chief executive officer is you've also got to run the business, you've got to assist the business as well, based on your own skill set. And there's going to be a desperate need for that. Also within the health check, there was a number of recommendations that came about how some officers are reporting and who they're reporting to in relation to their specialism and their ability to be able to do that. And that you can see in the forward improvement plan is the recommendation that talks about alignment. You know, I'm very conscious some of those alignment provisions are identified in the Local Government Act in relation to, you know, section 5.2 and also the oversight and the financial management of council. So it's a partnership of both, in that some of these staff issues, they need to be dealt with by the CEO. Some of those other issues are by ARIC, and some of those issues with council. Now, the FIP will give the monitor a very... You recall that in the health check we talked about a roadmap remediation component for the Chief Executive Officer. This also provides that same opportunity, those same themes to work with the monitor and the Chief Executive Officer to make improvements.
One of the things that the report goes into or mentions, just keeps mentioning about reporting through ARIC, and we've spoken a lot this evening about the role of the Audit and Risk Committee. That is the sheer volume of matters that need to be attended to, the work that ARIC will now need to do and Council will need to do. I just wonder if you could maybe elaborate a little on the way that ARIC could potentially work through this. I mean, this is a lot, but it is so vital to addressing the issues within the report. I just wondered if we could have your thoughts on that, please.
There are some of the issues that will be considered based on recommendation from the officers, but I think some of the matters need probably deeper level of diving into what those particular themes are and how that's going to be undertaken, because some of these will have a cost, Commissioner, and some of those costs will need to be considered by the Council and how it's going to be developed. The question, I guess, that comes to hand is 4 ARIC meetings per annum sufficient? Yep. I think there's provisions there to allow additional components to be considered if necessary, or if Council so wishes, because some of them are reporting directly to Council, both with Mr Stewart and also with the monitor assisting. Some of them might go directly to Council.
I'd note that some of the most critical and extreme risk items stipulate a 0 to 6 month time frame, so that is going to be an incredible burden for to get everything that's listed underway within 6 months.
Yes, Commissioner, and that's why that $300,000 gets us through to the end of the year, and I'm really hopeful that the Council understands the need for that. My recommendation was for a Director of Governance for a 3-year term, because even the Forward Improvement Plan talks about really between now and 2 years to make these improvements. So, and there's going to be a significant cost to achieve that. You've got to, I believe, the Council must support the CEO, otherwise the trends are going to continue, Commissioner. You really got to walk into these issues and come up with resolutions.
Yeah. My final question, because I'm conscious that it's getting late. These are remarkably complex issues. The 2 reports are heavy. You've obviously been working on an induction plan for new council, but this, I believe, warrants more than just a general discussion that potentially happens about the governance directorate or however you want to frame it. Could you give me some comfort that there will be some quite extensive briefings provided to Council on this, and that there will be support available to them to wrap their heads around the legal aspects of this, and to ensure that they are very well positioned to take action on this as and when they decide to set meetings for themselves?
Thank you. I guess the 2 pieces sit there with both the temporary CEO and also the substantive CEO. First of all, I have a limited term contract with the Council, but I'll be with the temporary CEO while the new Council is elected and go through the affirmation. I will definitely be identifying this as a critical issue and providing briefings. In the induction component that we've got, or the initial rollout of onboarding of new councillors, this will be a priority issue that's discussed. Mr Stewart is also aware of both the FIP and also what we're doing in relation to the health check components, and will be working for Council and ARIC and whoever else is required to make these issues come to the fore.
Thank you. Commissioner Jurjevic, do you wish to say anything?
You've said it all, thank you.
All right, how out of character. Okay, I'd like to thank the temporary CEO for your work putting this together. Thank Mr Hammond for his input into it, and no doubt Mr Stewart as well. I'd like to also thank the staff that participated in the review. It's no doubt been an incredible, a challenging process, and thank you for participating in good faith to those who pitched in and contributed to the what is, I think, such an important program of work for the future of the town. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by a simple majority. We have item 13.2 in front of us, special convening of a special council meeting on the 2nd of April 2026, an officer's recommendation displayed on the screen that requires a simple majority vote.
So moved.
Thank you. Seconded?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. As the motion is not opposed, I declare the motion carried by simple majority. There are no motions of which previous notice has been given. There are no matters for which the meeting may be closed. I'd like to move to suspend the standing orders for closing reflections. Being the last ordinary council meeting presided by commissioners, I move to suspend standing orders so to make closing remarks. May I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Who would like to start? I think I'll finish.
Can we go first?
Sure. Commissioner Aldridge.
Thank you, Chair. And I'd like to place some remarks on the record as our time as commissioners draw to a close. In 7 short months, I'm confident that we have done what we can to advance the interests of the town at every opportunity. Would we have liked to have done more? Of course. However, commissioners cannot replace a popularly elected council of local people to make the long-term decisions necessarily to truly advance Hedland and its people. From my perspective, the review of all outstanding policies, adoption of the delayed 25-26 budget, a revised project governance framework, support for organisational health check, recruitment of a permanent CEO, adoption of a communications agreement, approval of the JD Hardy Adventure Park, commencement of the major strategic review of the council plan, and the lease of the former Port Hedland Yacht Club are all significant milestones during our tenure. Of course, commissioners did not achieve this alone. The heavy lifting is always done by our administration and our town staff, and I thank them for their service to us and the community. We certainly have maintained a fast pace with 7 ordinary council meetings and 4 special council meetings. I've appreciated their frank and fearless advice as we have navigated complex issues and decisions. Can I make some special mention of our executive leadership team led by Ken Donohoe and before him Mark Dacombe, our directors Lee, Kylie, Steve and Alison and their teams. Commissioners have also had close working relationships with the Manager of Public Affairs, Denise McKay, and Manager of Governance, Tom Kettle, and his governance team throughout our tenure, and we've always appreciated their guidance. My last special staff mention must go to our Executive Assistant, Carol Price, our resident problem fixer, timekeeper and Commissioner Wrangler. No problem has been too difficult to overcome, including finding us new flights for tomorrow that were cancelled. And I thank Carol for her commitment to us and the town. I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners. It's been an opportunity to get to know both of you better. It might appear from the public gallery that we've always agreed on every issue. In reality, our conversations have been robust but respectful, and at all times the ability to challenge each other and above all compromise on a position. This is what makes our system of democratic government work. It was, after all, Winston Churchill who said, "Many forms of government have been tried and will be tried in this world of sin and woe. No one pretends that democracy is perfect or all wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time." This brings me to the community of Hedland. The last 7 months has allowed me to take a deep dive into what makes you tick, much more than a fleeting visit might allow. You're aspirational, straight-talking, and have an energy and dedication to your community not often seen in a community of this size. You deserve a council and a town that will deliver for you now and into the future, and I hope the time we have spent here as commissioners will act as a circuit breaker for this to occur under the leadership of a new mayor, a new council and a permanent CEO. Ultimately, this is up to you, with just 3 days remaining to cast your vote. I now realise how the dust of the Pilbara can get into your boots and your blood. The story so common of so many locals coming here for a 6-month project and 6 or 16 years later they have made this place their home, started a family and maybe a small business. The social fabric of the town is diverse and strong. It has been an absolute privilege to serve you and your community. I'd like to conclude with a quote from Councillor Keith Frame, the then Deputy Lord Mayor of the City of Perth, when addressing a dinner to celebrate the centenary of local government in Western Australia in 1971, when he said, "There is no pursuit more honourable, but less honoured, than being an elected member of local government. I truly wish the council elected on Saturday every success as it delivers for Headland and its community." Thank you.
Yeah. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I will stand for this. First of all, because I've come up in the era of local government where you stood to address the Chair and the public. One that shows respect to the Chair and the public, but also with all this video stuff, you can actually see who's talking at the time. So it's pretty important. Boy, how can I follow that? I'm not even going to try. You can see who the politicians are here. But however, just a quick couple of notes. In September last year, I received a phone call from the Minister and says, Port Hedland's on, etc., etc. I said to the Minister, yeah, okay, but I'm getting a new knee in 2 months' time, so that might bugger up the whole system. So I said, I'll think about it. So I went home that night and I said to the wife, well, Port Hedland, new knee, which is going to be the most painful? My wife said, got to be the knee, you better go Port Hedland. Yeah, right. There's been some challenges. However, after some 24, 25 years in local government, 1 year as a councillor, 3 years as a deputy mayor and 20 years as a mayor, and along with 7 appointments as commissioner at various councils around the state, I reappeared at Port Hedland after being here 6 years and did a report. Yeah, there were challenges. There are challenges coming up. And one of the speakers tonight mentioned that we're here to steady the boat. Yes, we are here to steady the boat, and I think we have done that. We've also restored stability, and we leave the town a better place than when we walked in the door. However, this can't be done without a very strong staff structure, and I'm very pleased to, when Mr Donoghue was appointed as a temporary CEO, along with all the various staff, the directors, managers, that assisted us in the way that we have been, and we've been, I'm sure they say behind the closed doors, a bit onerous at times, but however, they've all come through, and I want to congratulate CEO and the staff for backing this to it is. There's still a lot more to do. However, I think we've put a good basis there. But I come to the thank yous to the Port Hedland town people. As it was before 6 years ago, Port Hedland town people approached us, rang us and all the rest of it. And one thing I liked about it, very straight up the guts. Tell it the way you are, that's the way I like it. And they welcomed us with open arms and very encouraging comments as we went through our 7-month period. Yes, I mustn't forget Carol. Carol, if you're watching. Yes, she has been a jet in as much as how she's balanced everything and made everything work and get us where we're supposed to be and all the rest of it. That's a task in itself. And a couple of arguments with me at times.
Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, who would have thought it? However, and also I'd like to thank thank the Minister for the opportunities to work with Jess and Marty. First time ever I've worked with ex-politicians, but it's been enlightening, and I really mean that. It's been a great experience. I've actually absolutely learnt a lot over the last 7 months, and I appreciate it. As I say, there's still a lot of work to come for those that are going to be elected come Saturday. You can still vote. People out there, if they're listening, there's 3 days. You can fill out your ballot papers and bring them into the ballot boxes here. They won't get to Perth and back in time to do it now. So bring them in here, most important. I think it's a bit of an ominous sign the good Lord give us. We're getting hit by a cyclone. The new council coming up on Saturday is going to be led by the mayor, whoever the community elect. There's a huge, huge impost on that person, whoever she may be, because they are going to be the one that will make this work coming forward, or it will fail under their leadership. Been there, done that, can talk for hours on being a mayor and what it means. But that person, whoever it comes on Saturday, I wish you luck. I hope you have the ideals right going forward for the betterment of the town of Port Hedland. And I've said this from Canberra to Perth to everywhere else, and whoever will listen, in all my time, Port Hedland has been the most exciting council that I've had anything to do with, apart from all the crap, but a great place to be and make an opportunity and in fact a bit of reputation with yourself being Port Hedland Council. But I've got to have my last couple of points. For the new council, I ask you to consider changing the standing orders so everyone has to address the council standing up. Also, I'd like to see this system got rid of. It's too adversarial for me. I've made my comment before, but I'm just giving you a parting wish. When I was here 6 years ago, there was a bloody big table over there and everyone was around, and as the councillors were talking to each other, talking about whatever, they were facing each other. Most important. Just something to think of. Council, when you get together, you'll be required to come up with an opinion about compulsory voting. Vote no. Okay, I'm in the minority here, by the way. Vote no. There is no such thing as a democratic process of forcing you to a voting place on the day to have your name crossed off and saying that you are now legitimate. Local government voting system is very, very good at the moment. Don't like the optional preferential, but anyway, we've got that. And also, vote no to 4 years all in, all out. 2-year terms is what you want. In closing, I'd just like to quote, as Marty has quoted, but this person is a great defender of justice. His name was Zorro. And what he said was, Port Hedland, if you do what you always do, you always get what you always got. Now is the time for change. Thank you.
Thank you both, and it takes a lot of pressure off me to go after you both. So, so much of what you've mentioned this evening, I was going to say. So, I'm going to skip through my notes and skip over the things that have already been said. Similarly, when the Minister rang me and asked me, and I am going to sit down for my words, when the Minister rang me and asked me if I would support things in Port Hedland, support this process in Port Hedland, I took the opportunity because in my other life, I spend all of my time thinking about how significant Port Hedland is to the rest of the country, just how important this place is. You know, as an economic driver of the nation, and over time, since we've been up here, it's so much more than that. It is a very tight-knit, very resilient, very diverse, ambitious entrepreneurial community, and it deserves a local government that is going to serve those ambitions, support those ambitions, foster that resilience, and let it become all the great things that I do believe it can become. And so I've been very grateful to have had this opportunity, albeit that it has been, I think, probably the most personally and professionally challenging job that I've taken on. So thank you, Minister Beasley. But it's been an incredible learning experience. There's no two ways about that. And it's given me a whole new window into local government and regional communities that I've been very deeply grateful for. In our time here, and I've said this so many times that I'm almost sick of hearing it, we have been very focused on steadying the ship and on two things. Just reinstating normal council processes to try and help council function in a way that supports the democratic decision-making processes. And then supporting the administration, recognising that whereas there's a lot of public commentary out there about, and it's very observable what goes on in council. You can tune in on Wednesday nights and see what has been happening in the past. The challenges that the administration faces aren't quite so prominent, and sometimes you can think that some things are going a particular way, but you can't quite put your finger on it, and it takes sustained work, and it's taken sustained work with the administration to try and get our heads around not just what's been going on in council, but where there are opportunities for improvement as well for the town's administration. So we really have tried to reinstate those normal council practices that accord with what goes on in other local governments. So we've tried to reinstitute the ways that meetings can be conducted in a respectful way, and how councillors interact with one another, with the mayor, with the administration and with the public community, trying to give people a fair say and to make it a sort of space where people feel that they can make a contribution, and that positive contributions are as welcome and as important as legitimate debate and inquiry as to the practices of council. We've really tried to talk about deliberative decision-making. We've been very engaged with the department in those efforts, and I would strongly encourage the new council, when the model standing orders are considered, to adopt those. And obviously, we've also, last week, adopted a policy around protocols governing the relationship between council and administration. On governance and administration, we obviously adopted the budget, the council plan. We've recruited a permanent CEO, Dale Stewart, and we look forward to his arrival. We have, as has been mentioned, looked at the project management framework. We note the organisational health checks, observations, and the forward improvement plans, further suggestions in that area. We've talked about updating the policies. That was a really important thing, just to clear the decks for the new council. And we have initiated the major strategic review, and it must consult with the community. Communities don't just get to have a say at the ballot box, that's really important, but the major strategic review is there for you to express your priorities to help guide council in its decision-making moving forward. So that is a vital exercise in itself in terms of listening, but then also informing the council about the various factors that will influence the projects, programs and its own priorities. So the major strategic review is going to be really, really important, and that it is reasonable for the community to expect that what they ask for is then reflected in what council goes on and does. I want to speak to the organisational health check. That is obviously something we considered last week. It wasn't a detailed audit or an investigation, but it has looked at governance arrangements, systems, processes and organisational capability, and there are a number of consistent themes that have emerged across the organisation. There are systemic challenges that are more than just isolated control weaknesses. Across the 11 findings, the common issues are around accountability, the application of frameworks, the way planning happens within the council or the administration, assurance processes, gaps in management information, control weaknesses in high-risk functions, and together these obviously increase the risk of non-compliance, weaken decision-making, reduce service delivery efficiency and limit organisational resilience. So there aren't any findings made in the organisational health check, but there are a series of matters that do indicate that a lot of further work needs to be done in this area. The future improvement plan, I think that we've discussed this evening, does try and adopt a coordinated organisation-wide approach to addressing a lot of these matters. and it is designed to stabilise critical risks in the short term, strengthen governance frameworks and control in the medium term, and embed sustainable capability and discipline and assurance maturity over time. And I do hope that it goes some way to address the issues that I believe have emerged over a long period of time. And I hope it really underlines the importance of accountability systems, processes, and particularly the importance of functional and respectful relationships between council and administration, and respect for the vital, that interplay between governance and risk. And so I hope that these two pieces of work will contribute to the ongoing improvement of the operations of the town of Port Hedland. I do want to thank the temporary CEO for his leadership delivering the work, acknowledge the role of the new CEO and the monitor in their contributions. I wish them the best of luck in stewarding this improvement process through. But as I said before, I particularly want to thank the staff who participated for their frankness, for their willingness to suggest areas of improvement, and for the people who blew the whistle on some things. This, as I say, will be challenging, but I think that the worst is over now. I genuinely hope that staff view this as an opportunity to be part of positive change now. We know where the problems are. We received the feedback in the community survey. We know now where the opportunities for improvement are, and staff can be part of that change. And so I really want to encourage staff to think about this as an opportunity. New CEO, new council, a forward improvement plan that staff and the community can get around and support, and that I do hope council also embraces. You've now got an opportunity to really be part of something that hopefully these two documents will trigger. I do want to generally just thank all the staff most sincerely for your support in our time. In our 7 months, I haven't had an opportunity to meet everyone, but I tell you, we've all so appreciated the warm welcome and the effort that's got into supporting, as Commissioner Aldridge pointed out, a really ambitious meeting schedule. Just briefing us in was a mission. There's been so much work that's gone in, and I really appreciate that. I also want to mention Carol. She whipped us into shape on so many occasions, and I really appreciate her support, and she's been great. I would speak to Carol at least daily and 2 or 3 times a day. She's been wonderful. I want to acknowledge Kylie Davies and wish her the very best of luck in her return to her home state of Queensland. I've mentioned you, Kylie, because you and I worked very closely together on the Key Worker Housing project. I want to acknowledge your passion for that project. I want to acknowledge the importance of that project. I do hope it's something that a future council considers, and that it does. The model needs some work, but you worked really hard on that, and I want to acknowledge that. Alison, I think your work to produce the youth plan and the reconciliation action plan is fantastic, and Lee, I think today at the mosaic bench ceremony, just how well thought of you are in the community, and your approach to engagement with stakeholders, and you really demonstrated your connection to community and care for the people of this town. And these have been turbulent times. This is going to be a very, very difficult process, and public service itself can be very testing. And I just want to say thanks to all of you who turn up each and every day to serve the community. This, as I say, is a community with incredible opportunity, with ambition and resilience, and the elections offer an opportunity to really chart a new way forward. I want to thank my fellow commissioners. It's been interesting working with someone from across the aisle in our old life, and someone who I suspect might have been if he'd ever made it into Parliament. There's been Marty, your engagement with community groups, your attention to detail, your willingness to step up when at different times we've had challenges, I've personally really appreciated that. We were good mates in Parliament, and I think that that's only been strengthened. Ron, for his amazing mentoring, and what Ron doesn't know about local government just isn't worth knowing. And Ron, your actually ability to connect with people one-to-one, the time you've put into people, talking to them about what engaging in council is genuinely all about, the frankness with which you deliver advice, Your friendship and mentorship I've deeply appreciated. I too want to thank the temporary CEO, whose leadership of the organisation, the staff more broadly. I want to wish the newly elected council all the very best. The challenges are real, but your service will matter, and you have a wonderful opportunity. We've done our very best to get things in as good a shape as we possibly can with the limited time that we have, but there is a lot more to do. I'm sure if you can work a way through collaboratively and come together in the right spirit, you can achieve great things, and great things that I believe the town of Port Hedland absolutely has ahead of it. So thank you finally to the people of Port Hedland. We felt so welcomed and supported. You know, it's funny walking into a cafe and seeing a petition to try and keep you somewhere. We felt incredibly supported and welcomed, and what a wonderful community to have had the privilege to be part of, and one that I hope to continue to have a very strong association with post this appointment. And on that note, I will shut up, and I will call...
I move that we restate standing orders.
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. Then I will move forward to closure. 16.1, the date of the next meeting. Special council meeting will now be held on 2nd of April, as adopted tonight at 6 p.m. The next ordinary council meeting, subject to the approval of the new council, will be held on Wednesday, 29th of April 2026, commencing at 5:30. I thank commissioners, members of the public, the temporary CEO and his staff for their attendance. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 8:06 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.